At first, it feels like love. They mirror your soul, your dreams, your humor, even your pain. You've never felt so deeply seen, so completely understood. But what feels like love? Is it love? Because narcissists don't actually fall in love with you, they fall in love with the reflection of themselves. They see through you. To understand why narcissists can't truly love anyone, we have to look deeper. Not at their charm, or their confidence, but at the emptiness they're trying so desperately to hide. 1. The empty core. Behind the narcissist's mask is something they'll never admit, a profound emptiness. It's like a hole, where a sense of self should be. They learned early on that love was conditional. That being loved meant performing for it. Maybe they were praised when they achieved, punished when they showed weakness, ignored when they were simply themselves. So they built a false self, a mask made of perfection, control, and admiration. That mask became their survival. But here's the problem: when your entire identity depends on being adored, love becomes a transaction, not a connection. They don't bond. They attach to what feeds their ego. 2. The illusion of love. When a narcissist falls in love, what they really fall in love with is how you make them feel. You become their source, their supply of validation, admiration, attention. And in the beginning, they give you everything. They study you, mirror you, make you feel chosen, like no one else ever saw you this clearly. But that's not empathy. That's strategy. They're not connecting to your soul, they're analyzing what makes you attach, so they can control it later. And once they feel they've secured your admiration, the mask starts to slip. The warmth fades. The compliments turn to criticism. And the same person who once made you feel seen will now make you feel invisible. 3. Why they can't sustain love. Real love requires vulnerability. It means letting someone see the parts of you that are messy, scared, imperfect, and trusting. They'll stay. But for a narcissist, vulnerability feels like death. It exposes the emptiness they've spent their entire life hiding. So they reject intimacy the moment it starts to feel real. They sabotage closeness by withdrawing, criticizing, or creating chaos, anything to push you away before you see the truth. There's nothing solid behind the performance. That's why the relationship with a narcissist always feels like emotional whiplash. They pull you close, then push you away. They promise forever, then disappear emotionally overnight. It's not about you. It's about their fear of being seen for who they really are. 4. The child behind the mask. When you strip away the arrogance and the manipulation, what's left isn't a monster. It's a deeply wounded child, one who never learned what love actually is. They learned attention equals safety, control equals power, and love equals pain. But that doesn't excuse the harm they cause. Because while their wounds explain why they are the way they are, they don't justify the destruction they leave behind. You can have compassion for their story, but you can't fix their emptiness with your empathy. That's not your job. 5. The cycle of conditional love. The narcissist's version of love always has conditions. Love me if you admire me. Love me if you never question me. Love me if you stay small enough for me to feel big. And the moment you stop feeding their ego, they feel betrayed. They start to devalue you, sometimes subtly, with sarcasm or silence. Other times, cruelly, through humiliation or blame. They rewrite reality, twist your words, make you doubt yourself. Because if they can control your perception, they can protect their illusion. 6. What real love requires. Real love can't exist without mutuality. It's two people seeing each other, not for what they provide, but for who they are. It's empathy, humility, repair, accountability. A narcissist can imitate all of that, but it's an act they can't sustain. Because love isn't about power. It's about presence. And presence is something they never developed. To truly love someone, you need a self. But narcissists don't have a stable one, they only have the mask. 7. Your healing. If you loved a narcissist, it doesn't mean you were foolish. It means you were open-hearted. You saw potential where there was performance. You love deeply, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. The pain you feel isn't just heartbreak, it's withdrawal. Because you were conditioned to mistake intensity for intimacy. But love isn't meant to leave you anxious, or confused, or walking on eggshells. Love should feel safe, calm, consistent. You don't have to earn real love. You only need to be yourself. And when you heal, that kind of love, real, mutual, gentle love, will find you. 8. Final reflection. Narcissists can't truly love anyone, not because they're incapable of caring, but because they're disconnected from their own authentic self. They don't love people. They use them to reflect the image they wish they could believe in. But you have something they don't. The capacity to feel, to connect, to grow. That's your power. And as you reclaim it, you'll see the truth. You didn't lose love, you lost an illusion. And in that loss, you're finally free to experience something real. You're not unlovable, you were just loving someone who couldn't love you back. If this message touched something deep inside you, subscribe, and let's keep untangling the lies they made you believe. Together.